What up? This is David, and today I want to talk about a quote that I heard from Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he said something like, "As the area of our knowledge grows, so does the perimeter of our ignorance." And so what that means to me is, as human beings, we have this thing called the ego, right? And when we start to get more and more knowledge, when we start to get more experience, read more books, naturally what's going to come with that is having more confidence, right? Gaining more confidence because you know more things. You're just more experienced in these things. But also, what can naturally follow is an increase in ego. And because you maybe acquire this knowledge from a certain frame, you might form a bias around a certain body of knowledge, right? And as you grow more through gathering more information, you slowly start to have more of a closed-minded, or typically a majority of people will typically start to form a more closed-minded mind. And they'll, for the most part, a lot of people will tend to have a certain biases in their lives. And you want to really question this, right? It's like, what got you to learn about this body of knowledge in the first place? Maybe you had an open mind. Maybe you were opening yourself to receive this knowledge that you didn't have before. And what happens to most people, though, is because they become so overly confident over the years, like we said, the perimeter of ignorance also increases, which means, or at least to me, it means that you become more and more closed-minded. You become more and more biased towards one way, and so you can't see this other way anymore. You can't see this opening. So what I like to call this is the truth evolves. Many people think the truth is the end-all be-all, but I don't think so. I think the truth is always evolving. What was once true may not always remain true. It can, who knows, it can. Maybe something like mathematics, I don't know. Will 1 + 1 = 2 forever? I don't know, you know what I mean? So things like that, it can remain true, but some things might change. Our knowledge of the laws of physics, for example. What we thought was once true, with Newtonian physics, then we started to dive into the world of the tiny quantum physics, and there's so many different laws of physics in the quantum world. So it's what was once true, it didn't stand the time. It didn't stand the test of time, because what was once true actually kind of changed with our perspective of quantum physics now, right? So that's just one example. So you want to see the truth as something that evolves, and that's something that's not just static. All right. So you want to see truth as technology. Technology is always evolving. And I also believe that truth should always be evolving as well, or at least some truth. Some truth, maybe they can stand the test of time. But with other truth, you will always want to be seeking out more knowledge, more body of knowledge, instead of just being ignorant to other new ideas that may come in. So I'll give you a practical example of this, right? So and you can probably relate to this. There are many times in the past where I found something that was mind-blowing at that time. 10 years ago, I find something that's mind-blowing. And then I thought, this is the end-all be-all, nothing can be greater than this. And then a few years down the line, you find something different, you find something even better, and then you're oh my God, I was so wrong. I was so wrong 2 years ago. I thought I found the end-all be-all, I was so wrong, right? And an example of this, for me, anyways, this is a personal case, was my experimentation with health and diets, right? So in the past 10 years ago, I used to find I thought I found the holy grail of diets, and I went through 10 different diets, by the way. And I gave them all a good chance. So I was really trying to be open-minded to all this stuff, right? And then I would try one diet, and maybe, for example, I would find the alkaline diet, for example, right? And I thought that was the end-all be-all, it's the holy grail of diets. And then later on I discovered, no, there are better ways to this. There are different paradigms to this health stuff. And there are actually even different states of the body, further along that journey, I discovered ketosis, and how a different world ketosis is versus being glucose dependent. And just, if I didn't stay open-minded, I would have been stuck within a certain frame, a certain reality, and I couldn't have escaped. Right? So it's going back to that idea, as our area of knowledge grows, so does the perimeter of our ignorance. So we might think that we have found something that's really great and useful for our life, and then we stay closed off. We build this wall where we can't grow anymore. And so I think that's a fallacy for most people. With confidence, with experience, and even with age, also can grow an ego. And it's very sneaky. The ego is very, very sneaky. It's like a seed being taken over, like this dark seed that's being planted in your mind, and then you slowly abide to the dark side. You know what I mean? Over the years, you slowly abide to the dark side. You just become more and more arrogant. You just have this bigger and bigger wall built, and you can't let any other information in. You can't let in any other perspectives in. And I find that with older people, and of course this is a general statement, but I find that with older people, it is so much more harder to change older people than it is to change younger people. Because why is that? It's because, like, if you tell an older person that a belief that they had for like 50 years is wrong, it's like, oh dude, I've held on to this belief for 50 years. I'm not gonna just change. You know what I mean? That's what usually a typical older person will think. And so they're not gonna change. They're just so arrogant and so stubborn about it that a lot of people just stay closed-minded. That's what I'm saying. You gotta be open-minded. We gotta stay open-minded. We gotta be able to see many different perspectives. And again, just like going back to my life, if I couldn't stay open-minded, I would have been stuck at a certain paradigm and never evolved. I would have been stuck at a certain, like going back to that health example, I would have been stuck at a certain diet and never evolved my health journey. I would have been stuck at a certain type of style of writing or certain style of communication, a certain style of video making, and I would have never evolved, you know what I mean? So again, as we kind of have to see truth as something that's dynamic and not something that's static, and see truth as something that's evolutionary instead of just like stationary and never evolving. All right, so that's all I had for this video. Hope you found some value out of this one. Talk to you in next one. Peace.